Hello, hello, hello. Greetings from Noisy-le-Grand, which is on the west side of Paris. I'm staying at my friends Ramanaji and his wife Adi Ganga. And yesterday we had this huge festival in Paris. You can look at the video, and my video is called The Festival of the Chariots. A lot of chanting of mantras, Krishna mantras. If you're here for the first time on this channel, we speak about two main Vedic or Hindu or Vaishnava, to be specific, sacred texts, namely the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, which are considered to be the two great torchbearers of the ancient wisdom of theistic India, and which claim themselves to have a very purifying effect on consciousness. So if you're concerned about your consciousness, if you want to elevate your consciousness, if you want to be deeper, connected in a deeper sense with God, and if you don't want to take birth again and you believe in reincarnation and all that, then please do subscribe, because there's not that many YouTube channels out there that talk about ancient wisdom of India. So today I'm going to read to you a famous verse, as I often do, prayers, and specifically this is a prayer that comes from the sages at Kurukshetra, found in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, and which talk about the notion of illusion, how we're basically in illusion. And I think that relates to all of us, because if you're a little bit honest and introspective, we'll all agree that we're in illusion. And a lot of times for example, we all think we're our bodies. We think, I'm Indian, or I'm American, or I'm French, I'm male, I'm female, I'm straight, I'm gay, I'm Republican, I'm Democrat, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-choice, whatever. Being pro-life, pro-choice is maybe something that's not so illusory, but the point is we're not our bodies, right? That's the main illusion for us, according to the ancient wisdom of India. So here's this verse that talks about a sleeping person. So listen to this. This is really important. This is Shabda. Even though it's an English translation, the effect on your consciousness remains the same. So if you pay attention to this and don't go to the suggested videos up here and listen to this, then you should believe that there's going to be an actual effect on you in terms of making you stronger spiritually. So here it goes. As a sleeping person imagines an alternative reality for himself, and, seeing himself as having various names and forms, forgets his waking identity, which is distinct from the dream. Similarly, the senses of one whose consciousness is bewildered by illusion perceives only the names and forms of material objects. Thus, a person loses his memory and cannot know you. So the sages are talking to God here. They're talking to God, and they're saying, let's break it down. A sleeping person imagines an alternative reality for himself, right? So when someone's sleeping, that person thinks he or she is in another reality, right? And seeing himself as having various names and forms forgets his waking identity. So when you're sleeping, you forget that, wait a second, I'm actually whoever you are, and you're sleeping in your bed, because you forget that because you're in that illusory dreamlike reality, right? Similarly, the senses of one whose consciousness is bewildered by illusion perceive only the names and forms of material objects. So in other words, when a soul is really covered by illusion, then that person is incapable of perceiving his spiritual identity, is incapable of perceiving God. There's this beautiful verse that goes like this: Atakshi Krishna namadi na bhavet grayam indriyai sevon mukhe hi jivado svayam eva svuratyada. That the name of God, the form of God, the identity of God, and everything related to God is not perceivable by the senses. Sorry for the background noise. Is not perceivable by the senses. Like God and the spiritual reality of life lies beyond our sense perception, right? And so therefore, when someone's in illusion, that person can't perceive the spiritual, le spirituel, as we would say in French. I remember my father, with all the love and respect I have for him. I remember, he when he was alive, he wasn't that much of a spiritually inclined person, and I started my spiritual life by being a monk. So I was full on spiritual life from morning to night, living in a monastery and all that, and And my father just couldn't get it. Like he couldn't understand. And I think it's, this verse applies to him. God bless his soul. He wasn't able to perceive the spiritual value of what I was doing. I could perceive it a little bit, I guess, because I was engaging my senses in God's service. And that's the second part of this verse from, that I just quoted. When you serve God, when you engage those very senses in the service of God, beginning, for example, with chanting his name. Like we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By engaging our senses in the service of God, then God reveals himself to that soul. So that's what he's saying. That's what these sages are saying here, right? Thus, such a person loses his memory and cannot know you, right? Cannot know you. So you should really. First of all, you should be convinced that the most important thing in your life is to know God, is to deepen your relationship with Him, no matter what else happens in your life, and that therefore you should employ your senses in serving God. And by doing that, primarily centered around the chanting of God's holy names, then you should have faith that God will reveal himself to you more and more and more, in reciprocation with your consciousness, in reciprocation with your heart, right? And when he does that, then then everything's gained. The whole world is gained. So as I always say, we're lucky to have contact with this ancient wisdom. We should, you should take shelter of this ancient wisdom on a daily basis. In the link, in the description of this video, we have the link there to these ancient texts with the translations by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We should take shelter of those books on a daily basis and bathe our consciousness in this purifying consciousness so that we can remain strong in our spiritual life and traverse, this material life without too many hang-ups and tears. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Om Tat Sat.